It's the thought of showing other girls and other boys even that you can be stronger than that, and you can pass by that trauma, and you can grow and you can become stronger. And by helping each other and sharing your story, you're showing that the others aren't alone, because we all feel alone, especially when it's like sexual abuse. You don't want to talk about it. You're embarrassed. You feel disgusted with yourself. You don't want to tell anybody about it. And sharing my story, I've come across so many girls that have approached me that don't want to share their story, but they're thankful that I shared my story, because they don't feel so alone anymore.
Yeah.
And there are still triggers that I deal with. There are still, when I've practiced my speech, there were times that I got emotional while speaking about it, because that doesn't go away. You just work with it, and you work towards being a stronger person so that you can be successful and happy. There's always going to be that emotional connection to your trauma, but it's about working with it instead of working against it or working through it.
Yeah. Welcome, world. Welcome, family, to another episode of the EL2A Podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Gilmore Jr. To right with me, we got Mr. Military Man, Mr. Miles Picasso. How you feeling today, brother?
Feeling pretty good.
Love to hear it. To the right of him, we got the Rocket, Heights 7 Hill. Mr. Eddie Rock, how you feeling today, brother?
All right.
You just was sharing some news about FAMU, man. What was that? You want to share it to the podcast?
Yeah.
What you were sharing to the pod? What happened?
FAMU,
Yeah,
the best school in the land.
best school in the land. I take it. Oh, whatever he say, he was sharing. But anywho, to the right of him, we got a very, very special guest. The extraordinaire, the entrepreneur, Miss Jasmine Marie. How you feeling today?
Feel pretty good.
You feeling good? I appreciate you. You say it again?
Really good.
Really good. I like it. I appreciate you for being here.
That's
today.
him. Mike. Ask him how he's doing.
How are you doing?
See, thank you for asking, Jack. Because they usually don't ask me. Sometimes they've been getting better at it, but I appreciate you. Thank you for asking me. I'm doing great. It's a wonderful day we have you here today. You have a great story. You have so many things that we're going to touch on, and I'm just glad to be able for the people to be able to hear your story. But I do. Thank you for asking me how I'm doing, but I want to even turn it back to you. You just had an amazing accomplishment that you just did. Something that's on my bucket list as far as being a TED Ocala speaker. So congratulations to you. Kudos to you being able to speak.
All right. I'm scared now.
So that's a big deal. So I want to talk a couple of ways I want to go about it. Obviously, that's communication. Obviously, even wanting to get on stage, you had to face a lot of fears. I even seen a video of you pacing back and forth before you speak. So you had to go through a lot to get on that stage. So talk about the experience of speaking on TEDx. With TED Ocala, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was amazing. I think it's one of the best decisions I made going up there, because 2 years ago I was not talking at all, networking, speaking in front of anyone. I wasn't doing that. And then I joined Toasting Ocala, which is a Toastmasters international club where they teach you how to speak. And just last year, I had no idea what TEDx was. And then I went to an event and saw them speak on stage, and I said, I'm going to do that. So it's a huge growth moment going onto that stage and just meeting such a diverse group and just going and overstepping your fear and speaking in front of 400 people. It's a great accomplishment. It is definitely worth doing it. So you guys should definitely do it too.
I like it.
Yeah.
What inspired you then? So to even want to get into Toasting Ocala, Toastmasters, what inspired that? Or could you say you were raised, I guess you didn't talk much. So what inspired you to, I guess, want to be a speaker or want to speak more?
I'm definitely a wallflower, and it was something that I needed to break, because I am trying to create a nonprofit called Finding Jasmine, and that's something that I want to connect with other young adults, male or female, that go through trauma. And for me to be able to bring something like that forward, I need to be able to network. I need to be able to share my story, to speak on stage, and just know how to communicate in general. And so it's been a growing journey for the past 2 years, from being a wallflower, not wanting to converse with anyone in a meeting, at work, at a family gathering, or anything like that, to being on a stage. It's a big growing moment.
Yeah, that's a big teaching moment. So you first of all, you said that there's something you didn't have that you wasn't, but then you set out to accomplish a goal. So you say you have a nonprofit organization that you And then you figured out, you backtracked and said, these are the certain requirements I need to be able to do this thing. And so now you're in the process of putting together or being, it's a young lady, her name is Emily Cummins. She have a becoming store. So she says we're always becoming. So you're becoming the Jasmine Marie you need to be for your nonprofit. And what was the name of it again?
Finding Jasmine.
Finding Jasmine. All right. So communication. If you had to put some more pieces to the puzzle to be able to help you best be the person you think you need to be able to operate Finding Jasmine, what else do you think is left?
Just learning more about business, knowing more about how nonprofits work, and just continuing working on my speaking and my confidence, because it's a continuous journey of doing that. I'm still in the very baby stages and just figuring out how to construct it and how it would work. Just learning more about myself as well, because Finding Jasmine is about overcoming your trauma and becoming the person that you want to be. And I'm still growing and learning. And that's going to be something that people with trauma will always have, and they'll always have to do, is to continue to grow and continue to learn and overstep their barriers that they have. And I think that's something that I have to continue to work on continuously every day with myself, to be able to say that I'm a founder of something like that.
Yeah. Fear is a big thing, man. You know, the acronym FEAR, they say face everything and rise, or fear everything and run. You know, you have those acronyms that they say. And I kind of want to talk about that fear, that feeling. So when most people feel a sense of fear, we'll go to fight or flight, you know what I mean? And most people resort to flight, you know, to get up out of there. And for you to be able to, you're getting into that phase. I'm fighting. I'm not running anymore. I'm fighting that fear, and I'm going forward to where I want to go. So in the fear of that, what unites that? Like, what gets you into that mindset that I'm not running anymore, that I'm going to be the Jasmine that's going to stand here and I'm going to go get what I want?
I think it was just being able to overstep my first fear of believing in myself, because I had so many barriers when I was going through alcoholism. I was going through my trauma. I was stuck as that victim and a survivor. I was stuck in that identity that I was scared of everything, and I was so comfortable of being scared. So I stood in that bubble. And when I was given the opportunity, I was in the hospital, and they had told me that I had 3 months left to live. And it didn't truly affect me, but seeing the fear from my mother made me feel scared for her. So then I decided to make a huge drastic change and actually just try to work on myself through those next 3 months, not knowing if I was going to make it or not, just to do it for her. So it was that support and that fear from her that made me want to change. And then actually seeing that I can do that made me believe in myself. And little by little, I was getting excited by seeing what else am I capable of. So the fear was just more, it's being uncomfortable. It's being excited. It's just another way of viewing it. So you have to kind of remove yourself from thinking that you're scared, and your body is excited. You just don't know how to handle it. And you just have to step over that. And then everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. I love this. When you're thinking about the trauma, so you gave us a lot right there. You say, you were facing 3 months of life. I couldn't even imagine if somebody told me I was facing 3 months of life. So I kind of want to backtrack to go back forward to get there. How did we get there? How do we get to a doctor, you being in a doctor bed or wherever you're at, and you hearing that noise? So what's the backstory to all leading up to that moment?
It's something that I spoke in my Tedx talk as well, that I was sexually abused from my own father from the age of 2 to 14 years old, until I was able to speak up about it and tell my mother what was happening, because nobody had no idea. And when I was able to speak up about it, we went to court. I had to face him myself, and he was found not guilty. But he was later on put in jail for other victims. But after that happened, and I felt like there was no support from anyone, I couldn't trust anyone, the system, family, anything. So I found something, which was alcoholism, at 14 years old. And I just became an extreme alcoholic from age 14 to age 30, where drinking that amount of alcohol that I was drinking straight for those amount of years destroyed my liver. So I have liver cirrhosis. Now it's stable. But before, it was at 30, I was in a hospital bed, and that's when they told me that I had 3 months left to live because I was killing myself with alcohol.
Yeah.
And
So from 14 to 30, all those years of basically killing yourself, there was no ever awakening of I need to stop, or there was never no like that. You never got sick like that up to that point. You get what I'm saying? So basically 16 years, how did you allow yourself, or what allowed you to carry that on for that longer period of time?
that was being afraid of the world, being comfortable with where I was at. I did not want to get out of that victim mentality. Every time I drank, it was morning to night. Every time I woke up in the morning, I would drink, and then I would tell my sob story. I would cry about it. I'm a victim. And I just held that for years. And I would get sick, but the way I would get better was I'll drink a little bit more. And then I felt a little better. And then at 27, I was in the hospital in New York, which I'm originally from. And that's when they first told me that I had liver cirrhosis. But I had overcame it. I stood at the hospital there for like a month, and I had to go through physical therapy and everything like that because it really destroyed my body. But then I stopped for like a couple of months, and then I went right back to it because I saw everyone else around me. It was also the environment. When you don't change your environment, you're around a lot of people drinking, partying, doing drugs and everything like that. You're stuck in that environment, and you want to do it too. So you just go in circles. You're going back to everything that's destroying you, and you don't care because you're in self-destruct mode.
Yeah. And I know everybody else probably thinking that. I'm definitely thinking it right now. So, and you did mention your support system at the end. Around that time, or even growing up, I always pride myself. I had a big brother, Eddie. I seek guidance from him. I was following him. And I would like to think if I ever got into a position where I was maybe going down the path you were, that he would come over and be like, bro, you tripping, knock this out. What you got going on? So that made me think for you, like there was no one, and from what I understand now, you have a good relationship with your mom. So even at that time, so where was your mom? Where was anyone to be able to come, talk some sense into you or get you out of that place you were in?
Well, they did try a lot. But when I'm running away from home, and they get tired, which is understandable when I just don't listen. And I was constantly not home. My mom has always tried to call friends and figure out where I was and stuff like that. But it came to a point where they couldn't feed my sympathy to me, and they had to kind of they had to close the door, or else I wasn't going to learn. And that's what happened, because after so many years of them trying to tell me that I need to stop, and then this isn't, it's not okay. You shouldn't be doing this to yourself, and I just don't want to listen. It comes to a point where it's just falling on deaf ears.
Yeah. So I was about to say,
Yeah, nah. So even hearing your story, I think back to just think about life, because you got a lot of people, men, women, but so I have people in my family that faced with the circumstances and the situation that you were faced with, having the mental fortitude to realize, like, okay, I guess whenever it did get to the final point of like age 30, all right, let me dig myself out of there, get myself from out of this position, and now you still with us to this day. So that's something that's that I commend you on, because that's a lot of people can't. So I have my own family members that when you think about, so you said at 27 you were faced with it, been in the hospital before.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you get yourself out of there, and then you're back at 30, but you're able to get yourself out of there. So now you're doing good. So my dad, I'm not even going to, because there are people that have to understand what's going on. So my biological dad, he's been, and we shared it on the podcast plenty of times before, but he's been in and out of my life since I was 2 years old. In prison, out of prison, he'll come in, he'll show his face, with all those good things. He is going like 49. He's back on the run again. Mm-hmm. So your story of him going into prison, this is your time to learn. So that's you going into the hospital. Mm-hmm. But he go into prison, he do his time, he get out. All right, I'm gonna do better, son. I'm not gonna go back no more. I want to be there with you and the rest of my kids and my grandkids. But then you go back. Then you get out, you do a long time. He did 15 years. He was supposed to do 17. He did 15 years. So on this time around, I'm older. I got multiple kids at this point. So I'm telling them, he's telling me, I promise I'm not going back this time. I'm going to stay. I'm going to do right. Okay, well now, so he goes back to the hospital for that second time. Him going back to the hospital is the prison. He gets out. So now he's not, what the point that I'm making is there are a lot of people that's not able to dig themselves out of that situation. The mental headspace, because he had me, like, and I say that and not in a bragging way, but I almost felt like I was doing what he was supposed to do for me. So, when you said you had your family there that were trying to, give you they're trying to guide you. They're trying to help you out of, I was that person to him. And now it took for me to get to that point of saying, I can't help you anymore because you're not listening to me. You get what I'm saying? But just for you to be able to dig yourself out of that, man, that shows the strength. We talk about men being masculine and women being more softer and nurturing, but there are women strong like yourself that are just as strong that may be dealing with whatever they're dealing with. And if it's a woman on the other side of this camera that's listening, they gotta, listen to your story, because that took a lot of guts. That took a lot of self-motivation to get yourself from where you were to where you are now. And I think, whatever it is, at some point on the podcast, you got to share that with them and to let them know, whatever it was that you were thinking. I think Jamie did ask that question. He alluded to it, just giving them that motivation, because there are a lot of people that may be dealing with something where they don't know how or what to get out of there. So
even to that point, Jess. So think about this. So think about the story he just shared. So it's my brother. We grew up in the same household. Our dad, was in the household, but he wasn't in the household with his biological dad. Through my research, that's trauma. So when we think about what is trauma, it says anything that overwhelmed the nervous system. So when you think trauma can really be anything. And it says, so in the word overwhelmed, even to my ears, when I hear someone say they're overwhelmed, that really doesn't register to me, because I really didn't hear those words when I was growing up, like anxiety and overwhelmed. Like, I hear people say that stuff now, and to me, it really, because I'm like, you're not overwhelmed. You just, because I didn't use, my parents really didn't use that, and we definitely didn't use that. But now you hear kids that come in and they're like, I'm overwhelmed. You know what I mean? And all these different things. But then when you talk about trauma, so adverse childhood experiences, ACE, this trauma is physical, emotional, sexual abuse, physical or emotional neglect, parental mental issues, substance dependence, incarceration, parental separation or divorce, domestic violence. I mean, when you think about where we come from, that's normal. That's normal. This is the norm. So we think about everybody living in trauma. So when you hear that, and obviously you went through, different traumas as well, how does that make you feel? You get what I'm saying? To know that everyone else is walking around with trauma. How just talk to me. How do that make you feel when you hear anything? You get where I'm going?
Yeah, there's a lot. That's why I like to share my story openly and bluntly, because a lot of people don't think about what they've been through. And because, like you said, back in our days of our childhood and stuff like that, like, nobody talks about it really. Nobody understands what trauma is really, but trauma is anything that affects you as a child and changes your behaviors and gives you triggers. So if you really notice, like, if something makes you uncomfortable, or there's some situation where you're kind of like on autopilot and there's a behavior that you do, then that is triggered by something. And that's usually something by the past. And a lot of kids that we don't realize are going through trauma or going through abuse. There was a report that said over 2 billion children worldwide have suffered from sexual violence. In I think 2019, that's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And we don't think about that, because we are all living our lives. We're day to day, we're focused on ourselves and our families and everything like that. But there's a lot of people that even, and I don't like to say someone's trauma is smaller than the other, but there's other traumas that are less recognized, because it's not they're being beat, they're not being sexually abused, they're not being neglected and starved. There's other traumas that are triggered through some type of abuse that's not really seen as abuse. As if there's like parents that are constantly arguing, if there's like some type of anger, a parent going from 0 to 100, that's going to cause the child to have anxiety, and that's a trigger from an abuse. So we don't really think about it, but it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So thinking about that situation, like the situation that you dealt with, like that's mind blowing to even think someone of that person would do something like that to you. To think now, so you being the Jasmine Marie you are today, are there still things that I'm pretty sure you still like deal with things from those experiences? So even to get through it, even now, how are you able to be who you are today, going through what you went through?
It's the thought of showing other girls and other boys even that you can be stronger than that, and you can pass by that trauma, and you can grow and you can become stronger. And by helping each other and sharing your story, you're showing that the others aren't alone, because we all feel alone, especially when it's like sexual abuse. You don't want to talk about it. You're embarrassed. You feel disgusted with yourself. You don't want to tell anybody about it. And sharing my story, I've come across so many girls that have approached me that don't want to share their story, but they're thankful that I shared my story, because they don't feel so alone anymore.
Right.
And there are still triggers that I deal with. There are still, when I practiced my speech, there were times that I got emotional while speaking about it, because that doesn't go away. You just work with it, and you work towards being a stronger person so that you can be successful and happy. There's always going to be that emotional connection to your trauma, but it's about working with it instead of working against it or working through it.
Yeah. Was that experience ever? Did it become normal? Did you because when you were going through it, was it a period of time that you thought that what was going on was normal?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did it not? You get what I'm saying? So how? Because again, if somebody's here, if it's a child watching this, and they may be going through something, and it may be seeming like the norm. How did you come out of that to realize this isn't normal? What's happening to me?
Education.
Okay.
When I was little, I did not know that it was wrong. I didn't understand what it was. I didn't like it, but I didn't think about it as if my father's doing something bad to me and he's not supposed to do that. It was until I got a little older and I grew, and they were talking about it in school, sexual abuse or anything like that. And I don't know if they still have it, but they had sex education in classes and stuff like that. And it's like, that's not normal. You're not supposed to do that with your child. And then that's when it started becoming evident. And that's when it started. And you could see, if you looked at my childhood pictures of me when I was a kid, I was like a regular little girl. And then you see me at 14 years old, I'm gothic. I got black makeup, everything. And in all my pictures, I just look not there. So it was when I started getting older and getting educated on what that was, that I realized that it's wrong. So I think I don't approve of like talking about like stuff like that to very young kids, but just educating them on what parents are not supposed to do, or adults are supposed to do and not supposed to do with them, I think is a good thing, because there's kids that are very young that they don't understand what's happening.
When you were growing up, did you ever was there anybody that you could talk to like, I guess from that, you say, so from 14, so because we're dealing with middle school kids now, so through that, your middle school, high school era, was there anybody that you did talk to or could talk to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was. I was terrified to speak to anyone about it, because it was embarrassing, and you don't want anybody to not believe you. So it was scary, but I had, at 14, the reason why I was able to tell my mom was because I had told my first boyfriend at that time, because I just couldn't hold it in anymore. And I told him about it. And then he told me, you have to tell your mother.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the point where I was able to open up. But it's usually, I guess, like a relationship or a friend, someone at your mutual level, because you're afraid to tell someone older, because you might get ridiculed or get yelled at and stuff. That's the fear that I had.
Gotcha. So, and I only asked because, again, we had me and Mr. Roy, we were here at Central Christian, and we had the boys. We had that moment, like somehow we got on the topic of absent fathers. Now, you know, it's a touchy situation, because we say absent of father, like fathers, just single parent households, basically. Mm-hmm. That's how it started. But then when you started diving deeper into it and you start seeing the expressions on the boys' faces, some of the young men started crying. So basically you're saying you found that your boyfriend was that safe place. That was that safe space for you to share your story with. So when we deal with the with our boys, it gets to a point where there are certain things that they will share with us, and we of course as mentors we give them the best guidance that we can. So for them, basically, I was just trying to tie the two. So because that I was asking, who and when did you feel like you can share with that person, and it's the same thing for them. But the thing is, we educate them the best that we can, but there aren't other people educating them. So when you look at their success being able to get out of their trauma or whatever that may be, it's kind of scary when we say, okay, when we look at society, this is our society, this is our future. If these young men can't get out of what they're dealing with now because there's nobody else to educate them, technically they're doomed because they're going to be dealing with this as they get older. So I was just asking because again, now we have to figure out as a community, as people, what other education can be given to these families dealing with, with their kids, dealing with what they're dealing with, to help them become a youth, getting out of their situation. So.
Yeah, how can somebody distinguish between what I just said, the list that I gave you? So all those things, we notified that these become normal in the environments we come from. So how can someone actually distinguish between a tough childhood and actual trauma? Again, because some of the things that incarceration, seeing somebody go to jail, parental separation, divorce, these seem like normal things that happen every day. So as someone that may be set in this society say, oh, this is just normal, this is just what happened, how can someone distinguish like, okay, now I'm actually dealing with trauma? Does it become trauma when it starts hindering me from doing things? Or you get what I'm saying? Like, how can I revisit? How can I just notify that this is trauma and I'm not because we become to make a lot of things normal. And I think that's what hurts us. So again, just like he talking about in this field we just had parental meetings yesterday, and we sitting out with kids that dealing with a lot of stuff that we're talking about, and they're acting out in a certain way. Their behaviors to get their grades are low. And if you really study this, what we're talking about, these are all results of ACE. You know what I mean? The trauma stuff. So how can somebody be able to say distinctly, okay, this is not just normal, I'm actually dealing with trauma?
With themselves?
With themselves, yeah.
Well, for me, I didn't realize my behaviors were all triggered for trauma. I know that I was victimizing myself, and that's what I used to be able to live that destructive life that I was living. But when I was in rehabilitation, the one thing that I talk about is being able to recognize your behaviors, your triggers, and educating yourself on that, because you won't know until you actually start doing research. Like, you can go to a therapist and they can tell you what you're feeling, why you're doing certain things, but to be able to understand yourself, why you're doing certain things, that takes it to a whole nother level. And that's what they kind of gave me at the rehabilitation center that I was at. They gave cognitive therapy education. They were going through all of these therapy educative psychology stuff that I didn't know about. And I was able to internally analyze myself, my behaviors, like, oh, wait, I do this, but why? And then I see when I do certain things, and then I understand that they're triggers from my trauma. So being able to educate yourself on psychology and self-analyzing yourself on the things that you do, especially when it's on autopilot, when you do certain things, like if you're incapable of saying no to someone, there's a reason why. There's a trigger that you can't say no to someone. You're scared. Or if you can't speak out in front of a crowd, there's a reason for it. Why? So to be able to go backwards and see if it's stemming from a situation or just an experience that you had, that if you said no to someone and maybe it was when you were a child and you told someone no, and then you were yelled at or you got in trouble or something really bad happened, that could be a reason as to why you can't say no to people as an adult. But we won't understand until we actually start analyzing ourselves and looking at ourselves and just researching the psychology aspects of it.
Yeah. Can you give me a practical time for yourself? So what was something, a trigger, something that was happening with you and you had to identify it, like how you got over it? So if you could think about back to something that was really hindering you and you notify you was like, okay, this is happening because of this, and this is how I move forward. Can you give us an example of that?
Yeah. So in relationships, after dealing with everything from my father, I went into very, very toxic relationships, and they were abusive and everything like that. And I had fear of stepping outside of what someone told me to do. And that was my trigger, is that if I'm asking someone, what should I do? That was a constant thing that I would do in my relationship. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I wear this? Should I wear that? Everything needed an approval from my partner. And that was because I was internally terrified that if I went against their word, that something bad would happen to me. So I needed to teach myself that everything was going to be okay and I can make a decision if I'm in a healthy relationship. So that was something that I had to break out of, realize that I was sticking myself in these toxic relationships because it was comfortable for me, even though that it was scary and I was fearful of them all the time. But getting out of that and going into a healthy relationship, I was still carrying those behaviors and still acting like that. And it was quite confusing for my partner. It's like, why are you asking me all of this? And are you mad? Or always asking these questions. So I had to really, really look at myself and tell myself that it's going to be okay. And it's always about overstepping fear, because fear is the number one thing. And it's always, it's you're creating that fear. It's all in your mindset. And to be able to break out of that little by little, it can shift how you behave and how you act and make you grow. And that was very difficult for me to break out of.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still learning how to be in a healthy relationship and not to be so scared and to be more confident in myself and to be happy.
Yeah.
And that's just, you have to analyze those things.
Yeah. I think there's people, so there's somebody that's going to watch this and they're going to hear it. And they may be in that the traumatic experience right now. And you did say it was difficult, but still, somebody's telling when you're going through something and someone's saying something, you're like, man, I hear you, but I don't hear you because I'm actually trying to figure this out. So if you could think of like a timeline or just how that process went for you really to break out of that, from the time like you were like, okay, this, from the relationship aspect of you, like this is unhealthy and I need to be able to be that person that make my own decisions. What was that timeline that you actually felt like you got control over making your own decisions and not having to be reaffirmed by a person? Like, how long do you think it actually for you to grab hold of, like, I'm Jasmine Marie, I don't need you to make a decision for me?
I don't think I could I think everyone's different, that they have a different time frame. But for me, it was just slowly building myself and being able to believe in myself. So taking my steps out of the comfort zone of going for a job that's a little bigger than what I thought I was capable of, speaking in front of people, going out and meeting new people, and creating an environment that's productive and positive for me, rather than staying in that negative community that I was stuck in. Like with my toxic relationships, I stood in the circle, the environment of the toxic people that were connected to that person. So I was never growing from that. So I had to remove people from my life, a lot of people from my life, and just remove a lot of activities that I did, a lot of behaviors. I need to stop myself from actually doing them physically. Stop myself. I need to take a moment and just say that this is okay. I can do this on my own. And it's just building that confidence in yourself from that fear, because nobody's going to be able to do it for you. And nobody's going to be able to build your confidence for you. It's little by little, you're building yourself. So you have to stop yourself and you have to erase people. You have to erase environments. You have to erase behaviors that you do. Usually I do this when I'm stuck in this situation, and I'm going to go and do that. So it's literally changing how you decide to make a decision.
Yeah. I'm going to read some statistics off to you. So when you're talking about problems, so when we talk about trauma is I hope that I don't sound bad when I say a problem. It is a problem, you know what I mean? But most people want to find solutions to problems. I'm going to read some statistics off to you, and then I want to get your best. Because obviously in what you're doing, who you are, I said it to you before, but when you go through something and you get through it, then you're an expert at it. So you being an expert in this field, I want to hear how you think, how can we move forward from the statistics that you're about to hear? You got it? All right. So 61% of adults report having experienced at least one ACE, adverse childhood experience, before 18. All right. Childhood trauma increases the likelihood of substance abuse by 2 to 4 times. All right. Students with higher ACE scores are 2.5 times more likely to fail a grade. People with 4 or more ACEs are at 4 times greater risk of depression, 12 times more likely to commit suicide compared to those without ACE. All right. So all the things that I just told you in the beginning, and I just wanted to this statistic, people with 4 or more ACE are at 4 times greater risk of depression, 12 times more likely to commit suicide than someone that doesn't have these. So when you think about that, that is crazy. So moving forward from these statistics that you're hearing, and I got another, hold on, last one. 20% of children in the U.S. will witness or experience a traumatic event before the age of 4. So all these statistics, and we have Jasmine Marie. How do you plan to aid the people that are maybe dealing with or helping people not even go for or having trauma to help them heal from this?
I think it's important that we talk about it more. I think that trauma or abuse is an ugly, dark conversation that nobody likes to talk about. It makes everyone feel uncomfortable. And that's why I speak about it so bluntly and raw about what I went through, because it needs to be talked about. It's just why people are so afraid to talk about it. They hold it back and then nothing gets done. And they keep carrying the behaviors, the trauma, the depression, the alcohol abuse, the drug abuse throughout their entire life, committing suicide, and or even there's people that are homeless because they living the destructive life that they have. We need to talk about it more. People need to be comfortable to share their stories together and know that there's a community, that they're not by themselves. And for the kids, I think it's just about really looking at their behaviors, because the sad part about abuse is that it's really, really hard to stop it, because there are pedophiles, there are violent abusers everywhere, and we can't really change them from who they are, and they're going to commit those acts. The one thing that we can do is help the kids that are showing behaviors. And like, for example, the teenagers that are drinking, a lot of kids that have ACEs start drinking early, start experimenting with drugs early. And that's usually seen as rebellion, but it may be a stem from something that happened to them. And instead of ignoring it, I think as a community, as the world, that we need to recognize these behaviors and really start focusing on the kids, because these kids grow into adults and then they're destructive. So I think communication, sharing our stories, and just working together is the only way that we would be able to start lowering those numbers, because nobody really wants to talk about it.
She got it, bro. So, and it's crazy to hear answering this question of what can be done. So going back to the quarterly meetings that we had with the parents yesterday. So again, you're somebody, you're a young lady that was able to get yourself out of that traumatic era in your life. So as the parent, as the adult that's raising these kids, and then they're trying to figure out why their kids are being defiant, having all these crazy acts, and then they come and ask us. To your point, some of those parents may have dealt with trauma at some point in their life and never got out of there. But now you have kids, and you're raising your kids in the same environment that you were raised in. So now your kids are, and that's the cycle within our community. So to your point, I mean, the only way, you got to do what you said.
And I think that's important too, to what you just said. Because the trauma is passed down through generations. So for what I hear Eddie saying, how can families, so even for us, so we work in this space, so we need help. How can we go to our families? What can we tell them? What techniques, what strategies can we give them to be able to break generational curses, to be able to work together as a family knit? If it's a child that was in, what would you have wanted when you were a child? What would you have wanted your mom? Do you know what I mean? And I understand that you say you run away and different things, but what if you were a child that's dealing with that, what would you have wanted? What is something that we can coach our parents to do for their children if they may be dealing with trauma?
And before you answer, I'm sorry. Before you answer, and I'll go because I think I told Rory last night, bro. It got to the point last night where when you see some of the parents, some of the moms crying because of they don't know what the problem is, or they don't know how to help their sons. That hurt me, because we're dealing with their boys, and I always say, I understand where they're coming from. I only hear their side. I don't hear the parents' side. I don't hear the mom's side of the story. But to see that you have a parent that I guess wants what's best for her child, but can't get it out of them and don't know what to do, that's hurt. That hurts me as a person, because it's like I have kids myself. What I experienced of not having my dad in my life, I said it before, where I use that as motivation to be in my kids' life. I don't care what nobody say as far as not thinking about him not being there and making that a reason to why I'm doing what I'm doing as a father. No, I'm gonna use that, because what I experienced, it messed with me. I didn't talk about it, but I'm able to look at it now. Like I refuse to let my son experience the feelings that I felt, not being able to speak to anybody. And that's, to your point, being able to show those, to express how you feel, because we didn't do that, growing up. But like Mr. Jamie said, how do we bridge that gap?
I think for it really does suck, because generational trauma does exist. Like my mom, I love you, Mom. She has really bad anxiety, and that you can see that we all have anxiety, especially me and my sister. And I think that the problem with that, or how to solve it, is that we need to stop trying to be so hard, like strong, hard, and everything. Because my mom does have a strong backbone, and I think that with people that have certain behaviors and they're carrying it onto their kids, I think a good way to do it is to be able to ask for help. It takes a community to be able to open other people up to help and show other people that they can do certain things. With me, I didn't believe in myself. I did it for my mom when I decided to go to rehab. I had like a whole bunch. It was either continue drinking, going to hospice. They wanted me to just go and live out my 3 months and wither away, or or go to rehab and actually try. And I did that for her. But when I was in there was a community, and they believed in me, and there was other people there that had opportunities just like I had, but they weren't taking it, and they weren't listening to the professionals. And when you're able to have that community, and you have someone who believes in you and wants to help you, and you're able to ask for help and know that you need help, I think that communication is really, really important in a family base, or in a community, that we all need to know that it's okay to ask for help and to open up. Because if you don't ask for help, nobody's going to know, unless they're really looking at you and your behaviors. They're not going to know. So I think continuously showing the family members or friends or people in the community that it's okay to ask for help, and that it's okay to share what happened to you with us so we can help you. That's really, really important, because if I didn't ask for help, I wouldn't be where I am now. I continuously asked for help, and I had people who believed in me, and that was the reason why I progressed. I didn't do it all on my own. It was a community that it took for me to become who I am from where I was.
Yeah. So what role, because that's resilience. What I hear is a lot of resilience. So what role does resilience play in your life when you think about coming through all that, even up to this day, still, breaking barriers, jumping on stage in front of 400 people? Even when you hear that word resilience, like what does that mean, and how does that resonate with you when you think about your life journey?
I've been hearing that word a lot, and I love that word. And I think that it is resilience. Everything, when you continue to grow and you move past the tough times and you become stronger, that's resilience. And I do see myself as being resilient, coming from liver cirrhosis, and I still have medical issues that I have to face. And just a week before the Tedx talk, I was in the hospital, and I was in there for a few days. I was scared that I was going to be able to make it there. and I was tired, but I had to be strong and be resilient and get up on that stage and do my talk. And I think that everyone is capable of being resilient. It doesn't matter where you are, how low you feel. If you're at the bottom of the bottom, you have the capability of being resilient and being beautiful and growing stronger and being successful. Everyone does. They just need to step over that fear that they have and ask for help and actually make changes in their lives to move towards that, because you're never going to be able to see yourself in full resilience if you don't do those things.
Yeah. What has overcoming trauma taught you about yourself, or taught you about yourself and life in general? Yeah.
That you have no barriers. It's the only barriers that you have is the ones that you make for yourself, because it's all in your mind. And it's your choice to rewire your brain, to recognize the issues and work towards becoming a bigger and better person, because there is no barrier. That's why I keep pushing myself to do bigger and better things, because I want to test my capabilities. And every time that I've done it, I've surpassed my belief in myself. And it just shows that we are all capable of doing more and more and more and growing every time. And there's no limit to who you can be if you just believe in yourself. Nobody should put their limits on themselves. There should be no cap. You can always be stronger. You can always be better. You can always be happier. You can always be more successful. You just have to push for it and work hard for it, and you will see the results.
Yeah. Like, I'm thinking about this as you're talking, because when you hear, I hear a lot of mindset. I hear a lot of, like, you know what I mean, just passion. And it was making me think of, like, how do you define the success?
Success to me is being healthy and happy. It doesn't have dollar signs on it, because I think success is different for everyone. Some people want a simple life, and to them that is success, as long as they're surrounded by family and a dog and a beautiful picket fence, you know. And for me, success is to have a huge organization of helping other women, and success is having a big beautiful home with my family and other little homes around my home, so I can have them all and I can be able to take care of them, because I put my family through hell for years.
Yeah.
And especially my mother. And for me to be able to take care of all of them and make them happy, and to be able to travel and just continue to work on helping other people, to me, that's my personal success. But yeah, success is different for everyone.
Yeah. So it sounds like your story ignited a passion for entrepreneurship, something to be able to do yours. So even talk about that. I know you touched on it in the beginning, but just even your aspiration to be an entrepreneur and do the work, as far as to be able to say, hey, I've done this. Even what we do today, it came from the birth of our life experiences, and we wanted to fix a problem that we've been seeing for a while. And in a sense, that's what you're on a path to doing. So when you think about entrepreneurship, just how does that make you feel, knowing that you're about to step full-fledged in that and basically chase your dreams?
It's really exciting and it's freeing. I literally just got out of my 9-to-5 work, and that was terrifying for me to be able to do that and to make the choice of closing that chapter and going on a path of entrepreneurship, of believing in myself and pushing forward to build something on my own. And that is, it's very exciting and it's very freeing. There's something that happens, like you said, I keep saying mindset. There's a mind shift that happens, and it's just completely freeing, and it's just exciting, because you have so many opportunities that you don't even know yet, and opportunities to grow, and you could just kind of like experiment with what you want to do and try to figure out. It's like learning a whole new version of yourself, and so it's really cool.
Yeah. The thing I like about it, if you just think about the trajectory, everything we talked about in the beginning, we talked about the fear. That was something we talked about. And even what you just mentioned, that's scary. Yeah, but you didn't talk about it in the lens of like, I'm not gonna do it. We talking about like, I'm about to go crash through this wall. So that's all about life. That's what life journey does. You know what I mean? It's giving you the strength to be able to stand on top of your mountain and be able to look down and say, you know what I mean? I've accomplished it. I've overcame it. and now you're able to look up and say it's so much more to go. You get what I'm saying? So it's I'm happy for you where you're at now. And even thinking about entrepreneurship, I do want you to mention your business again, the one you said, because I forget the name, but mention you say Jasmine Marie. What did you call it? Say the name?
Finding Jasmine.
Finding Jasmine. Okay, I'm sorry. So Finding Jasmine, and then touch on again just so people know where they can find you. What is going to be the mission and the goal behind your nonprofit?
Finding Jasmine is going to be about sharing our stories, becoming a community, and just helping young girls, young boys, adults, just that are going through some type of trauma and have the limit of themselves. They don't know who they are because they're living in the victimized platform and that identity of being a survivor. Even that is another stigma that we live in, and we identify ourselves as a survivor. We don't identify ourselves as who we are, as Jamie, as Jasmine, and stuff like that. So it's about finding who you are and not identifying as your trauma and knowing that it's okay, but that's not who you are.
When can the people look for it? When can the people be looking? I'm gonna put you on the spot. When can the people be looking to see what you got cooking? And because it's gonna be somebody that say, I need that right now. So when can they be looking forward to seeing it from you?
Well, they can always come and reach out to me. Even though that it's not launched or ready, I'm always available and ready to talk and connect with anyone that is going through some type of trauma or is past their trauma but still dealing with the triggers and the life identity crisis that they are dealing with. We are currently with my partner trying to build Defined Media. So that is our first goal, and then figuring out how to launch Finding Jasmine after. But I'm always open to anyone who wants to talk about anything that deals with trauma or troubles, or if you feel sad or alone or anything like that. You're not alone. There are so many of us out there, and we just need to support each other and connect and be able to help each other move forward.
Love it. All right, Jab, I got to mess with you before we get out here now. All right, so I've been around you a couple of times, right? And you're a petite young lady, but you got a big appetite. You eat a lot. I've been to Puerto Rico with you. You ate fat plates. We done been a couple places, and you eat a lot. And I don't know where the food goes. So do you consider yourself a foodie?
Yes, I am a foodie.
Where does your love for food? Where does that come from? Where does that transpire from?
My family. I think we're like, if you come to a gathering, my mom always overdoes it with like food.
Okay.
She cooks for like 30 people, and there's only like 6 of us. So, but she likes to make those big platters, and just going out to try different foods. Like when we all went to Puerto Rico, I'd never tried mofongo before. Now I need mofongo like every week. And I don't know. I just love food, and I love to cook and experiment too.
Yeah.
So to be able to try different cultures and then make it at home too, and I can make as much as I want.
Yeah.
And then it's fun.
What's your guilty pleasure?
I think it's either Mexican food, because Mexican food has been like every weekend. And I get the huge burrito. or Indian food lately has been my favorite, curry.
Yeah. So if you had my last question with the food, if you had to make a dish, all right, we're gonna name it after you. All right, so your own dish, and it's named after you. What would this dish consist of? What will all be on this plate?
That's hard. I think, if we made a huge sushi burrito, but with Spanish rice and carnitas. Is that how you say it? Carnitas. Yeah, the fried pork.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Carne frita. Yeah, there you go. Carne frita. Yeah.
I appreciate you. So I definitely. So from me to you, I appreciate it. I love to see a person that's in that mode that you're in right now. You can easily feel, and you can easily sense and tell that you're in that. Like you just came from, like just knowing to really knowing. You get what I'm saying? Because a lot of times people know, like, I can do this, I can do that, but they're still scared. But it's like, nah, you passed all that. Like you ready to put the car and drive and really to make it happen. I put on my story the other day. I get it in. I run a couple miles. You know what I mean? I ain't bragging or nothing, but I was out there running, and I took a picture of the green light, and I said, we always on go. I said the only red light is in your mind, and I think that you've got it in your mind that there's no red lights, that there's only green lights, and then once you tap into that energy, the sky's the limit. So definitely praying for you and rooting for you. I'm here. Anything we could do for you to help you and aid you, and maybe I'm pretty sure you can come over here and help us with some of our families and keep pushing the thing forward. So I don't know if y'all fellas got anything else y'all want to add before we spin off.
Appreciate it. Hey man, I like your story. Might not like your partner. I like your story. Congratulations. Truly. I mean, it's a lot that you went through, but you here now, and you got a long road ahead of you. So it's just going to be interesting to see what else you pull out your sleeve. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So I want to say, definitely, man, anybody that's watching this, please definitely make sure if you are dealing with any trauma, you feel like any of this information that Jasmine has given to you, that you want to tap in, you want to get with her and say, man, I'm going through something. I'm in something right now, and I need your help to get me out. Definitely, please make sure you reach out to her. I'm going to make sure she gives you information and she's going to end it. But definitely right now, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Stop what you're doing. I know Jasmine, a lot of her friends and family are watching right now. All right. So that little like button, that subscribe button that's on the screen, make sure you tap it. All right. We would greatly appreciate you. Jasmine would greatly appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button. So we appreciate y'all. And definitely put some comments, man. Let's interact. Comment what you're going through. If you're going through something, you need somebody, we'll be going through the comments. We'll connect you directly to Jasmine. If you're somebody that don't know how to get to her, comment, say, I need help. Again, she said it herself. The only way you can get help is if you acknowledge that you need help. If you need help, make sure you put it in our comment. Again, and give her some words of advice too. She's a young entrepreneur that's about to go take over the world. Give her some encouragement on her journey to keep her going. All right. Other than that, I'm gonna spin it to you, Jasmine. You're gonna be ended. What I want you to do, I want you to look in that camera right there. That's your camera. All right. I want you to give some words of encouragement, words of inspiration to the people. It can be geared towards life. It can be geared towards trauma. It can be geared towards whatever you want to be geared towards. Tell them where they can find you first, and then give the motivation, and then we'll end it like that.
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram. It is Jasmine Marie, and that's a mouthful, but that's where you can find me. You can always message me. And I think just in general, the people put limits on themselves. It's all about your mindset, and it's you that puts the barriers around you. There's no one else that can take them away but you. You have to be able to ask for help, even if it's not trauma. If it's something that you don't understand and you want to grow as a person, you have to be able to ask for help. You have to be able to do that so you can grow. The only limit is you. So you have to break past your fear, insecurities, and your self-doubt, and just push through that. I still get scared, and I just have to relook at it, and fear is excitement and just another way of looking at it. So just be excited that you're scared, and that means that you're doing something out of the normal and you're growing as a person, and you can do it. You can. So
I love it. Hey, Tedx talk coming soon. Definitely make sure y'all be on the lookout for that. Whenever it drops, we'll make sure we put it in the link of this video as well. But we'll see y'all next time.